This is going to be a short, simple little video on how to build a custom desk. It started out with looking around for a series of desks and realizing that between $500 and $1,000 is what I was going to need to spend to put a desk in put to my home office. I didn't really want to do that, and I wanted to do something a little bit more custom anyhow. So the basic concept of this was the old get two filing cabinets and buy a door at the local box store and lay it across, but I wanted something a little nicer than that. So what we ended up doing, I had one black cabinet, I needed a 2-drawer, and I needed another one. So looking at the box stores again, you can buy them for hundreds of dollars, but going to a used furniture store allowed me, as you can see, to pick up $60. But to want to make both columns the same color, I had to change the color. So first we had to rough up the surface, which we did using the drill there, as you can see. Took off the hardware. The springs would be too difficult, I think, to take off and put back on, at least for me. So we left them on, taped them up. You can use whatever paint you want. I've tried various kinds and other products or other usages, but Valspar is far superior to anything that I've ever used. And Valspar is Lowe's brand. So this is now the rest of the product of everything else that we needed to complete it. Because now we had our 2 columns, which is basically the way every desk is made up. You have 2 columns on either side and some kind of a middle drawer in the middle. So then going back to Lowe's, we picked up a 4x8 piece of maple plywood. I think they had 3 different varieties, but it's the highest end that they have. It's about $52 a piece. The advantage of doing that also is at the big box stores, they'll cut right angles for you. They won't do any miter work. They'll cut right angles. So I had them cut it down to a 3 foot by 6 foot, which is exactly what I wanted. Don't get disappointed. Their blade is not very fine. If you weren't planning on sanding it, and you might want to use your own fine blade and use a table saw. But I was planning on sanding these anyhow. But what I really wanted it to look sort of like a horizon at the end. I didn't want it to look like the top one. Having had a desk this size before, I realized that both the upper right and left corners were never utilized. They're just too far to reach. And I'm 6'1", and so you just can't reach out there. So it also makes it look more custom. It makes it look a little nicer with the curved top. So not really sure how to do this. If we would have started with just putting the point to create the arc right at the edge, at the 3 foot mark, in the depth, the arc would be very severe. You can simply do this yourself using an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and just do the arc if you want to put it right at the edge. You can notice it's a very sharp arc, so the both ends of the desk would come back dramatically less than 3 feet. So to do the arc that we needed to make a much larger arc. So as you can see here, we used a paint roller extension, and why 80 inches? I don't know. We just ended up with 80 inches. From the left end of the extension to the right end, and started making lines. This took us quite a while. It's not nearly it's not that complicated, but the biggest part is keeping the anchor of the arc stable, and then using a pencil. All we did was use a pencil to draw down one side of the arc, then draw the other. The one issue that we had when it's not stable, of course, when you measure them from the upper right corner and the upper left corner down to where your line is, when they're off by 2 inches, which our first one was, that's not a good thing. So but after I think it was 6 tries, we ended up getting it down to where we wanted it to be. So then I went back and made the line rather sharp as we could, and then took it outside, put it in the sawhorses, used my $15 circular saw that I got at Habitat, and very closely to that line. Took the circular saw the whole way around it. It stayed just a hair on the outside, and then used the sander with the rougher sandpaper, the electric sander, to bring it right to the line. And what you're seeing in the middle of that table is the sawdust. It's not the messed up grain. And here's another picture. I think a little better view of the angle and what it looked like when we were done. So we got the angle down. Cutting it wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought it would be. So then we had to stain it, and we used Minwax, as you can see here. I think this was a dark chestnut, and this is where we started. And then we used the polyurethane, also from Minwax. We put 3 coats of finish, 3 coats of stain and 2 coats of polyurethane on. And that was the way the table looked, or the top looked when it was done. The next part is the part I thought I took pictures of, but I can't locate them. Basically what happened was we had to set you have to set your two columns, your two drawer filing cabinets exactly square. If they're not square, you're not going to have a square desk, so they have to be square. Fortunately, we had a hardwood floor with straight lines, so we used the seam in between the boards themselves. So once they're square, then you can determine how much width you want for your own legroom. You can make it as narrow or as wide as you want, because wherever the cabinets are, where they are, just as long as the overhang is equal on the left and right side and on the front. We used a 1-inch overhang on the front, which seemed to be pretty standard at best, and let the back overhang as far as it needed to. One of the things I failed to mention when buying the filing cabinets is it's amazing how many different styles and sizes there are. We were fortunate to find one almost identical to the one I had, which is a 29-inch height, 29-inch height, 25-inch depth, and 15-inch width. And so just by using simple math, we brought them in, I think, 3 inches on either side, and put the tabletop on it. Before we put the tabletop on it, however, we drilled a hole in the front top of the filing cabinet and the back top on both. Then we laid the board down, and then bought 4 3/4 inch screws with washers, and screwed up through the top of the filing cabinet into the bottom of the board. And so when we're done, we then, because the standard height of a desk is 30 inches, because we had to make up some more height. Now the advantage is, making custom, you can do whatever you want to do. If you're a shorter person, you wouldn't have to do anything. If you're taller, you want more space, you can do whatever you want. But having used a 30-inch desk forever, I then cut four sections of 25-inch miter pieces, and then 4 sections of 15. Then using this little brad gun and just regular wood glue, put them together after they were stained in polyurethane again. And then with the help of some young men, slid it underneath the desk itself. So that brought it to the 30-inch height, and there's the completed desk. Now the original plans was to put a modesty panel across the front. I wouldn't have bought 3/4 inch plywood for that. You can buy cheaper, and it doesn't need to be that heavy, for about 1/2 inch, and it'd be easier to work on. So I was going to put one across the front and then 2 on the left and right sides, so nobody would see the filing cabinets. Although I ended up liking the look of the black with the grain, and so at least for now we're going to leave it the way it is. The only other addition that I wanted to put in would be a middle drawer, which I just haven't gotten around to it. But that's very simple and less than $10 in sliders, and then use the leftover wood that we would have from everything else. So this is what it cost. The one filing cabinet was $60, as I said. The hardwood, sandpaper bands, screws, washers, the stain, the polyurethane, over $47. So I was out a total of $159. If we do the panels, it might come up another $75, and that would be it. So good luck and have fun.